The following is a special presentation of XCW.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to XCW Inception. Last time we were here, we kicked it off with the Rain Show, and now we move forward in time just a little bit, not too far, to May 21st, the fourth show filmed for XCW.
Yep, we got another trampoline show, the last of this small little foray into a trampoline wrestling for XCW.
But while it was the last of the trampoline shows, it was the first televised event for XCW that had an over-hour runtime.
Mm-hmm. True that. You'll see the shows get longer as the seasons progress. So let's get into this.
Well, obviously we had... 6 matches on this card, which for an XCW card up to that point was...
Yeah, that's why it went over an hour.
Yeah. I mean, usually the shows ran about 3-4 matches. We actually had 6 overall rather decent matches on this card. You started with Psychor and Lucifer.
Psychor's second ever match.
Went on to Little Pimp versus Blade. Then you even had a Peep Show, which... were a trend at that point. They weren't a yearly tradition like they are now. Mm-hmm. You had Stingray and Hazard versus MILF Hunter and Ratitude. Corruption and MILF Hunter, Biohazard and Fletch. And then the main event, Kurt Acid versus Chris Jones, which you look back nowadays, the things they would become.
Yes. I said before, it's the humble beginnings of certain feuds, certain wrestlers you are seeing from the very beginning of XCW's history is what we're watching.
What would you say, looking at this lineup of names, would be the match of the night before we get into our evaluations?
Before, if you just threw this card in front of me, okay, this is the card, what would, be probably, I would have said Chris Jones and Kurt Acid.
Yeah, definitely going off of...
That would have been my go-to pick. I was like, okay, those two.
Going off of names alone. I mean, speaking of names, some of these names in here we'd never seen on screen before. I mean, Hazard was one half of the tag team champions, and we had still never seen him on screen up to that point. Which, in my opinion, this show was kind of built around Blackout Inc. Almost every segment in some capacity had something to do with Blackout Inc.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they were all over this show, especially after the tag match. They were all over the place.
It seems definitely, I mean, you said Jones and Acid. I kind of agree with that, even though that wasn't what I ended up picking as match of the night. And obviously you'll find out what my pick of the match of the night was later tonight. We've also got a little bit of a new segment here on Inception. We've come up with comment of the night, whether that be from commentary or from the wrestlers themselves in match, and it was the May 21st
a lot of commentary wasn't real commentary. It was a bunch of the guys, kids as they were, saying things kids do, and
And while I didn't listen,
makes me laugh.
I didn't necessarily listen for a comment of the night here on the May 21st show. The one that really stands out, and there'll be more in future episodes that are just baffling, especially coming from cameramen, was when the Ratitude's grandma called him during the tag team match, and he had to cut the camera and he had to go answer the phone with his grandma, and you just heard someone say, "Damn it, Granny." Yeah, it was pretty
just
pretty
one of those things.
funny.
It just makes you laugh. Not intrinsically funny, but just the timing.
Yeah.
It's all comedy is about timing.
Yep. But before we get into the evaluations of each match, we do get to show you this beautiful commercial break. And when we come back, we will have our breakdown and evaluations as well as star ratings from each of these contests on the May 21st.
Let's go. Can't stop me, can't stop me. 궤도를 다 뒤집어. Get ready, dreaming area. Get ready, dreaming area. Can't stop me, can't stop me. 나를 이끌어봐. 난 자유롭게 가자 far away. 나나나나, 나나나나, 나나나나. Here's an area. 나나나나, 나나나나, 나나나나. Here's an area.
And we're back here on Inception's gonna be evaluating some of these matches. And Festus, I'm gonna let you take charge with the first match, which was Psychor's second match.
Yep, Psychor versus the Lucifer. Really, just Psychor. Like just watching how he was portrayed as just a monster, as coming in and just being to mollywop anyone. And the one thing I got from this was and I say it all the time, it's interesting to watch a wrestler and them have something in their moveset that later on becomes their finish. Shawn Michaels used a super kick in AWA. Psychor using an early version of the Psych Out and not getting the win. Refer to other thing, the punch combo that he was using at the time.
That's terrible.
Early. I'm not a fan, but like I said, it just showed how big a presence Psychor was going to be, how he was portrayed in these first two matches, where he just demolished.
For me, talking about Psychor's strikes, that punch combo being awful, his strikes in this match didn't look as heavy hitting as they could be. His strikes he pulled a lot on his strikes. Obviously, it being his second match, maybe he was a little more nervous to, mess somebody up. I know at one point Lucifer got rocked with one of those weapon shots, which was, it's always funny to see. I mean, I didn't know Lucifer was balding. But Lucifer started balding in these shows.
Yes, quite a few times. Got the old hair knocked off.
My biggest question though was, why did this match get to last longer? I mean, you mentioned Psychor being built as a monster.
It did last longer than
this
first.
Kind of went a little bit longer than I expected to. I mean, Lucifer, not a strongly based character. He's a masked character, so you'd kind of expect to be able to come out and dispatch.
But there is also a thing of these early shows. You do see the masked characters getting
more time
than they would later. Is that where we are? Where we they're more enhancement talent.
Yeah,
they're bringing a new guy. Okay, goes up against masked character to build his stuff. And so in these early days, you do see a little more of, Lucifer, Eternal Darkness, Psycho getting
Psycho up to this point hadn't debuted yet.
Yeah, later on, and just masked guys like that getting more push. And I don't know if that's virtue of the roster being so small at that point in time. that
You can put anyone under a mask and have them play the character.
Exactly. But yeah, it was a little longer than I would have imagined it would have gone, with those two guys. But
Now, what would you give this match rating wise?
I give it a 1.5.
I had it at a solid 1.
Yeah.
It wasn't the best outing that either of them could have put on, but it made Psychor look strong.
Yeah.
And I know that was the intent. But looking strong goes into our next match, which is Lil Pimp versus Blade. It was a bit of a different style of match. They were more into it felt like. They definitely felt more involved in what they were doing.
There was just some nice wrestling, a couple of really good looking suplexes that I was like, oh wow, they're throwing some good stuff in there.
Suplexes had some bounce to them.
Yeah, trampoline. But I'm always disappointed by DQ finish.
Yeah,
I know it's part of the
very.
I know it's part of stories and it works, but as a fan, never a fan of the DQ finish. But that's what we got to see here. Lil Pimp going over.
I actually had it listed as the finish feeling forced and unplanned, which maybe that was the point, to make it feel like it was happening out of nowhere. I know that's kind of a trick Fletch likes to pull a lot, is the surprise, the out of nowhere, what the
swerves.
But I guess we'll get to ask him about that later.
Yeah.
One thing I don't want to ask him about, and I really hope it's not a trend going forward, is people's asses coming out on camera. It started with Chris Jones, and maybe he started a thing. Lil Pimp turned right around and did it too.
I didn't
like it.
I didn't tune in to see. If I
want to see ass on camera, I'll go to a different website. But another thing I noticed, and I pointed it out last show, I talked about how competitors were investing in themselves, getting their custom shirts and stuff like that, and making their own custom shirts. Blade wasn't wearing his Blade shirt this time, and I was kind of disappointed.
Yeah, I noticed that, and I was like, the same here. I was like,
one of the things that made him,
maybe he just forgot to do laundry that week.
He forgot to have Mama do laundry. Let's be real, he wasn't doing laundry at that age. One of the big things, though, that made him stand out was that every iteration of him was different. He didn't wear the same stuff with both characters, personalities.
Yeah.
And this time, the only difference was he took the shirt off. And that wasn't... It didn't hit the same as the orange shirt Biohazard and the black shirt Blade.
I didn't feel that you didn't get the sense of the split personality as much as...
It just looked like Blade was coming back out for another match. I had this rated at a 2.5 stars. It was a very close 3 stars for me because, in my opinion, these two actually killed it. Their match was very entertaining.
Yeah, I was entertained by it. I'd probably put it at 2.5 is what I had it as. And, the more, talking here, I'm thinking about it. That's where I'm sticking, 2.5.
Alrighty, well, following Lil Pimp and Blade, we actually got a peep show. Fletch got busted jamming out Hazard's theme, which that song is not what I imagine that big of a man coming out to. Of course, I'm used to him coming out to "It's Welcome to My World," bitch. Other than that, I thought Hazard looked like a goof with those sunglasses on. Those sunglasses didn't fit his head. He looked really silly with them. I'm glad going forward, future episodes, you got different sunglasses that fit his head. But technically, it was the on-screen debut for both Hazard and Stingray, despite Hazard already being one half the tag champs.
Yeah, and being told they had to find a new tag partner, or
gotta get old Hebrew Hammer out of here.
Relinquish the titles. Yes. I didn't talk about how much I actually like that name.
But Hebrew Hammer?
Yes, I think it's funny. It makes me laugh. But him bringing Stingray in, and first time we get to see Blackout Inc. in action.
But the one thing that this peep show taught me is that God God, could Hazard not promo back then? At all.
He definitely got better as the years went on, but yes,
That promo was bad.
Shoot, not even a year. Like I watched further on. It's like, yeah, he definitely improved, and later, just
Normally, the Peep Show is followed by a different match, but this Peep Show was immediately followed by the Tag Team Championship match, seeing Stingray and Hazard, the current champions of Blackout Inc., which I don't believe their name had been unveiled up to that point yet, because they were introduced separately as Stingray and as Hazard.
Didn't have a
But
tag name.
it still gets very confusing that there was a Hazard and a Biohazard on the roster at the same time. It's kind of confusing. Versus MILF Hunter and Ratitude. We all know how I feel about MILF Hunter, despite him being the European champion at that point. I immediately figured it's a tag team match on a trampoline. There's going to be some amount of what the fuck's happening. I labeled it as chaos, but...
And honestly, it didn't really get that way until the very end.
Yeah.
Like, what I was thinking while I'm watching is, this is unlike any of the trampoline matches we'd seen before.
Yeah.
Because it was a lot of punches, kicks, groundwork. Not granted.
I mean, look at Hazard.
Bigger guy, but
none of the four guys in this match were small by any means.
Yeah. Well, you did have that, but when it seems like some guys get on that trampoline and they're like, okay, I can,
I'd have loved
I
to
can
see
jump
Hazard
2
do a
foot
backflip.
I can jump 2 foot high. I can do this, and it's like these guys just went out there and put on a wrestling match.
Hazard should have climbed on the roof and done a moonsault onto the trampoline. The trampoline was screaming already with him on it. I could only imagine. We saw a spring pop during this match.
Yeah, well, shoot, there was a spring. That spring broke during. They were fixing it during the first match when Lucifer came out. He's like, trying to fit it back on.
Gotta have the good grip strength to get a spring back on there without the tool. But it was the on-screen in-ring debut of all four of these men, so watching them in ring on screen for the first time, you didn't really know what to get with them. It was a very special thing. Obviously not MILF Hunter. Sorry, MILF Hunter wasn't making his on-screen debut in this match. We had seen him once before in the Battle Royal, but he hadn't made another appearance up until then. Hazard's a big dude to be doing trampoline wrestling. We obviously talked about that, and then there's the infamous, his grandma's calling, we gotta pause. I'd tell Granny to go fuck herself so we can finish the match, and then I'll talk to you, maybe. If you
we talk about it when we have the boss here, but it's like things that would never fly right now, or since I've even come in.
Yeah, I'm gonna put my phone on the commentary table, and I'm gonna make sure I set my alarm to go off during my match, just so I can get out of the ring and turn my alarm off. I would get bitched at.
Anyone would.
Actually, I would get bitched at not because my alarm went off and that I turned it off mid-match. I'd get bitched at because my ringtone is Livin' La Vida Loca, and Blackheart would just put the mic in front of my phone and play it mid-match. That's what would get me bitched at. But we did get to see MILF Hunter tap out, which...
Yep, Stingray making him tap out to the crossface.
Which, I mean, going over the notes from previous shows, tying in, what happened in previous shows, I don't believe we ever saw a submission finish. We saw the pass out from Kurt Acid passing out Fletch.
Yeah.
But we never saw a tap out.
You might be right.
So seeing a tap out finish, as far as my recollection, this is the first televised submission finish, proper submission anyway, that is, in XCW history.
Yeah.
Which is really weird, and obviously the Blackout Inc. retaining the tag team championships.
Yep. Yep. I just wanted to make it had the things. The flip side to the coin of things that would never fly today are things that never change, and this show, so many low blows done right in front of the ref, so many.
You know what else?
In in just standard matches, and I'm like, well, It's yep. The guys do that today too.
Yeah, some things never change.
Yep. Some things never change.
One thing that I noticed about this show is there was a lot of post-match assaults.
Yeah, we had one. We had one after this tag match.
And what I want to know is, why didn't anybody sell them getting attacked, especially MILF Hunter? Dude, you got attacked and then went out and had another match immediately after, which the tag match I had rated out of 1 star.
I had it at 1.5.
But immediately moving into MILF Hunter versus Corruption, like, MILF Hunter didn't sell that he had just gotten his ass whipped at all.
Yeah, so he'd been in a match, got a post-match attack where he, got his ass whooped again. And it's like, yeah, he comes out like fresh as a daisy.
Yep, I didn't...
I just couldn't, oh, come on, please.
I didn't have this match mini notes of this match, sorry. I didn't have many notes in this match because not only was it Corruption's return and debut, but I
that's
feel
one of the notes I had.
Personally, I wrote right here, why wasn't it a squash? Corruption's a big dude making his return, his debut. He's winning the championship. Obviously, we saw Corruption become the new champion in this match. MILF Hunter had just gotten his ass kicked by Hazard and Stingray. Why didn't he sell and it become a squash match? That, in theory, should have been him tired, groggy, coming out, Corruption powerbombing the fuck out of him, 1, 2, 3.
I think a lot of that is due to the, one, just kids, just, not professionally trained. The ring psychology just isn't there.
Yeah.
And I think you see that in a lot, they're getting there. There's a match later that have, like, you can see they're learning the ring psychology. They're learning why you do things in the ring.
I had it rated at a 1 star. It would have been higher had it not been a dude wrestling another dude who had just gotten his ass beat, and the dude who got his ass beat didn't sell.
Yeah, that's why it's 0.5 for me.
But normally we finish these evaluations, but since this was such a big card, we've actually got a commercial break before we finish our evaluations this time. So we're going to cut to commercial, we're going to come back, and we're going to go over the co-main event and the main event, as well as bring the boss on and throw him in the hot seat.
Telling you fools that I got nothing left to lose. Broken and bruised, black and blue, still on the move. And I'm showing the world I still got a lot more to prove. Now I'm coming out, swinging for your throat in the ring. Standing there bleeding, yeah, you know what I bring. Know what I mean? Dark when the bell is rung, cause it's a little too late now to get up and run. You're broken every part of me. I'm putting it up in down. I keep rising higher, higher, higher now. You're poking every part of me. I'm putting it up and down. I keep rising higher, higher, higher now. Don't fuck with me. Never gonna hold me down. I keep rising higher, higher, higher. The world can't stop me now.
back from commercial break, doing it a little differently this time. This is a longer form card, so we've, of course, got 2 more matches before we bring the boss man in on the hot seat. Next up, we had, speaking of the boss.
Yeah, Biohazard versus Fletch.
And I'll let you take the lead on this one because I feel like you had a little bit more notes than I did on it.
Well, my one biggest note, when I was talking about ring psychology, I said I started to see the first workings of like, okay, those two are learning what to do.
Yeah.
As far as telling a story in the ring instead of just move.
Yeah.
Like a lot of matches.
Less of a spot fest, more of a flow.
Yes, yeah, and it was a good back and forth. It's really all over good match, in my humble opinion. Yes.
It was a bit of a bloody brawl towards the end there. That ref took that ref bump seriously. Obviously doing the ref bump so Fletch can do the dirty chair shot to make Biohazard bleed. The match did feel a little lost without commentary. Obviously, you can't commentate the match you're in. Well, you can, but you can't. Booker T did it. We'll all see how his commentary goes these days.
We're not going to talk about that.
The weapon shots in this match, the very few that there were gnarly.
Yeah.
Like, they killed each other with those weapon shots. Biohazard was leaking. And I assume with Biohazard being as young as he was that it wasn't a gig. But I am going to ask the boss man when he comes on later whether it was fake or if it was real.
Many questions from this card.
That was the only critique I had about the match, that it felt a little lost without commentary. And it's actually what took the half star off from this being a 2.5 star and being tied with Little Pimp versus Blade.
Yeah, I actually, oddly enough, the commentary, it would have helped, but it really didn't detract from my enjoyment of the match. I had it at 3. I had solid 3-star.
I had it a solid 2.
Yeah.
It was a good match, though. Like, overall, so far, one of the better matches of all of the shows we've seen. And speaking of another good match, Fletch wasn't done. He came out before the Jones and Acid match with a brand new championship on his shoulder, saying that he had to present that title to the champion, Kurt Acid, despite Chris Jones throwing something at the back of his head and being a total Chris Jones asshole. I had it as an amazing back and forth between Jones and Acid.
Saying, like I said, this would, before watching the show, this would have been my pick for, what I thought match of the night would be. And it was a hell of a match.
It's also
good
the
back and forth. The thing that made me scratch my head definitely was, Kurt Acid hitting the 187 and
Jones kicking out at 1.
Yeah.
It felt like Acid was trying to shoot pin Jones on that one. He sat on the man's shoulders. Like, I think the only thing that aided Jones in being able to kick out of that was the trampoline, being able to have enough bounce for him to move.
If you'd be on the ground or a mat.
I did want to know why neither title was on the line. I mean, if you knew Jones was winning it, wouldn't it have been sensical to give Jones that win as the fresh power champion, having just won the title, not gotten a chance to defend it since winning it? Wouldn't it have made sense to have him defend it against the world champion and retain the title? Especially with some of the shenanigery that happened in the match, having Jones defend the title and retain it if he was beating Acid anyway. It wouldn't have taken anything away from your world champion.
You do have a point.
Because your world champion already had momentum from the last show, beating the #1 contender going into the tables match at Over the Edge. So wouldn't it have made sense to give Jones that momentum by defending the title? And I guess that's a question we'll have to ask.
Yeah,
the boss man
is a question for the when we have the boss in the hot seat, but just solid match.
Yeah, the outside dive they did was great.
Oh gosh, so many just so good. Just solid. and you know, two guys that would go on to have storied careers, and you know, I said seeds. You're seeing
Yes.
you know, the beginnings.
And it was also the first time the Smoking Skull had been used on screen as the world title, which for a long time was a very iconic championship for XCW as the world championship. I also have a question about that for the Boss Man later, because it's obvious that the tag titles looked a little familiar. So, I guess, what did you have this match rated as?
Actually, I had it as a 3 as well.
I had it as a solid 2-star. Obviously, Fletch reffing and calming the commentary aided it along, but the idea of neither champion defending their title and it just being a random champion versus champion match,
something out of it for
kind of for me. But there was another thing that took it away from me a little bit, was the random little pimp interference. Kind of didn't get that one. But Jones obviously getting over a little bit, pinning the world heavyweight champion. Still takes a little momentum from the champion going into our next show, which will be Over the Edge. But before we get to that, before we get to the next episode of Inception, we have to bring the boss on and bring the boss into the hot seat.
Have some questions and his thoughts about what was going on in XCW during this show and all the inside juicy gossip.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to throw you back to another quick commercial break, maybe even give you a sneak peek at some merch on the merchandise store, and when we come back, we will have Big Boss Man himself, not from Cobb County, Georgia, on the hot seat.
Let's go.
Can't stop me, can't stop me. 궤도를 다 뒤집어. Get ready, dreaming area. Get ready, dreaming area. Can't stop me, can't stop me. 나를 이끌어봐. 떠나 자유롭게 가자 far away. 나나나나, 나나나나, 나나나나. Here's an area. 나나나나, 나나나나, 나나나나. Here's an area.
Oh shit.
Oh shit, indeed. We have the boss back in the hot seat once again here on XCW Inception, May 21st, the 4th televised show for XCW.
Yeah.
What happened? Why was this one such a long form show in comparison?
Well, I mean, this was the last day of school, 2004.
Nice.
So summer starting, I'm able to incorporate more of those guys. Of course, Hazard was a guy that played high school football. He was a busy guy, Stingray, same. So now I'm able to better book these guys, get everybody on the card. I also had some other guys that I knew weren't going to be attending the card, i.e. Cynical, as you see, is not on this card, which is why he dropped the title in the previous show. So there were different things. We were reintroducing some characters, and obviously with this being the first show that was actually filmed for a lot of these guys, it's kind of an introduction of these characters to the people watching.
And that's another thing I'm going to get to in future episodes with you, is people dropping championships and stuff and people coming out as champions. But that didn't happen on this show, so we'll talk about that next show. You got any questions for the boss?
I've got a few, just a joke, probably in here. But during the little template match, you referred to Attitude as the worst referee you'd ever seen.
Yes.
Now, where is he on the list of bad referees we have had
Now.
Yeah.
He's
Still bottom of the barrel?
He's still in the bottom too.
Yeah.
Above Ron Blowbrook?
Sure, we'll go with that. And Rad kind of straddled the line. Straddles the line more so these days, as you guys know. Rad straddled the line of being an in-ring competitor and a referee, and he was kind of in a transition period, no pun intended, of kind of transitioning out of the ring, but still obviously an active wrestler. And he wanted to continue to be active for the fact that his best friend, Milf Hunter, was needing a partner.
Milf Hunter has friends?
He did.
Wow.
Well, so did Ratitude, but then he creeped out their kids. But that's for another episode.
Okay. Didn't know
Foreshadowing.
This was going to be a controversial panel. went from Inception to controversy real quick.
Yeah, we knew some of these questions would turn into that. So hey, that's the point. The only other question I had was in that tag match, all the after the bell stuff, was that planned? It looked a little chaotic.
I did have that written down as well. I was like, why the attack?
I think this was really, as what I talked about, Ratitude was really transitioning out of the ring, and I don't think you would see Ratitude compete in XCW again until 2008 or 2009, somewhere around that. So
we'll find out.
It was I believe it was Halloween Havoc 2008 is the next time he competes, but he was really transitioning out of the ring, and he was going to become more of a full-time ref, which you guys will see coming up in the early days of 2005. So with him transitioning out of the ring, and we're trying to establish this third dominant trio. You have VK2, you have MPG, now you have Blackout Inc. coming in, which you will also see play more in 2005. But the more that those things came, obviously Ratitude's transitioning out. I have a lot of newer guys coming in like Cynical and Stingray and guys like that. So it was just made sense for them to do the attack after so that we can kind of transition Ratitude out of an in-ring competitor.
Was the DQ finish between Pimp and Blade the intended finish, or was it just something they did?
This was a way to protect Blade because Blade was still in a feud with myself, but we didn't want to continue to have me versus Blade every week. So what we did is we put myself against Biohazard, which would later in a couple of shows that you guys will see here on Inception, myself and Biohazard for the final European Championship match. And that was kind of what we were going for. There was segments, prior to us having a camera where, I'm going after Blade. I have my issues with Blade. I want to get my revenge on Blade. And I keep running into Biohazard. And Biohazard's like, I'm not Blade, I'm Biohazard. And so that shows his multiple personalities. And it's me knowing that it's the same guy. So I'm going to threatening him and he's Biohazard. And that's why even though I'm the babyface in the situation, you see me come in and use the steel chair on the ref bump rather than the heel do it because I'm so frustrated. I'm trying to get the Blade, but Biohazard keeps stepping in my way.
Yeah, it's just you being a good guy. So obviously, how much do you like Hazard's theme song at this point?
The game? I love it.
Because when the camera panned back for the peep show, you're sitting there spinning the microphone, and then you all just stop the moment the camera pans back to you.
Actually, you will see that a lot coming up.
Nice.
It happens more.
Nice. Did you feel that Hazard couldn't promo worth a damn back then too?
I think the biggest issue that I had with Hazard's promo, I don't think anyone really knew how to cut a promo in that era. Nor did we have any wrestling psychology or storytelling ability. We had nothing. I think the thing that took me out of Hazard's promo so much in those early days that somehow, I don't know how, but somehow we transitioned out of it, is he has a very almost southern drawl in his voice.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys noticed that.
I noticed. I noticed earlier,
don't you take the microphone from Hazard. And it's just like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
Sweet home out of the fucking Bama. But like,
When did Foghorn Leghorn start
yeah,
wrestling?
exactly. So,
I'll say.
and if you know Hazard personally, you know that he doesn't speak like that.
Yeah.
So like, I was
Yeah,
like
it was-
taken back.
He threw on a promo voice.
I'm like, did he just Southern accent me? And I don't think he did on purpose. I think it was his natural voice, and I just didn't realize over the years that it naturally progressed away from his accent.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he did it purposely. I don't. I think that it was just... So, you look at it as Hazard's promos got better. No, he just stopped, like, his accent went away.
Sounding
He started
like-
hanging out with me, and he just got mouthy.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, he was like clean cut, football, G Willikers, and like he got around me, and it's just like
You corrupted him.
shit, fuck, pussy. It's just kind of how things went. It's a natural progression as me and Hazard got closer through the years, and so I think that was my biggest takeaway from him as a promo back then is his Southern drawl doesn't. To me, the Southern drawl also doesn't make him as scary.
Yeah.
Like, you think about later day Hazard, you think about deathmatch Hazard, and he is an intimidating force. G Willikers, I ate mommy's pie is not intimidating, and I think that's the biggest thing that changed on his promos.
So, staying with the tag team match for a second, was one half of the tag team titles the original XCW heavyweight title?
Yes.
Okay.
And it would later so one of the titles was the original world title that transitioned into the tag title, but the opposite belt would later transition into the new age.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Going
Thing
off
to look forward to.
Going off the things that wouldn't fly today, how would you feel if someone got out of the ring and answered their grandmother's phone call mid-match?
Words cannot express how angry he would be. I was angry then.
Yeah.
So,
I bet.
That just tells you all you need to know. I was angry then.
Oh yeah.
And that was almost 20 years ago. I'm still pissed.
So speaking of,
just like there's another one. I believe it's mine and Biohazard's match. The camera pans over and Corruption blocks half the camera shot. Also pisses me off.
Yeah.
To this
There's
day.
so many camera.
It's always your match.
A lot of camera work. We're always saying, like
It's
you
always
said,
your match.
always
Yeah,
your
you
match.
notice like we used the weapon spot with I got the trash can. He did the drop kick spot and all that, and they didn't come around, so it's just like tree. And I'm like, what the hell are we doing here? So yeah, that happens a lot in my matches. Yeah.
Tree.
At least there wasn't an adult yelping like there was in the first.
Okay,
show.
who was the kid with the ball? Oh, that's next show. Never mind. We'll get to that one. That's a question for next show.
Okay.
I'm getting my notes confused here. Was Ratitude actually hurt, or was that just a cover up?
Okay.
This was a way to transition him away.
Transitioning a lot with him.
Yes. He's transitioned a lot over the years. I hope you're doing well, Callie.
Was the blood in yours and Biohazard's a gig, or was it fake blood?
I can't reveal that. It was totally fake.
If not,
Dylan was afraid of his own shadow back then. Speaking of Southern drawl, Jesus Christ, Dylan Boston.
Yes.
He had that Waldron draw.
Well, he was from Morristown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So-
That tracks.
Yeah. Got any more questions?
His mom
No,
still speaks like that. He's all rich now. Fuck you. But his mom, on the other hand, sweet lady.
That's gonna come back to haunt you sometime.
She's still got a Southern drawl. Mm-hmm. I haven't really talked to his sisters, but they also used to have a very heavy
They still do.
accent. Yeah.
Come through the drive-thru every now and again. They still do.
Yeah. His grandma doesn't though, so that's strange. But I don't know.
So
You guys are not gonna ask me about the wonky Chris Jones attacking Corruption? And then Chris Jones going in the main event.
I was getting there.
Are we getting there?
My next note, again, was the same thing I had during the tag team match, was why the attack? If you think I'm joking, it's right there. Why the attack?
So Chris Jones' attack on Corruption was supposed to set up for the next Power Championship feud that never really came to fruition because Corruption wasn't longed for this XCW world much longer. He was in the 03 season in parts, in and out.
Pop back up at the Benji tribute show.
Pop back up in 2004, and what you see is what you get here. So the original plan was for Chris to transition into a short feud, a couple shows with Corruption before we really drove home the MPG and VK2 feud. Obviously, with Cynical not being available on this day, that really changed things. The original plan was for a non-title match between Cynical and Kurt Acid. Didn't plan out that way. And since things didn't pan out that way, we transitioned to Chris. Chris took an L the week before at the Rain show, so we were really looking to kind of give him a little spike. Obviously, with DTC not being available for the show, as we talked about on the last episode of Inception, DTC ended up being at one show, no Kurt Acid. The next show, Kurt Acid's available, no DTC. So, the damage was already done to the storyline at this point. And so Kurt Acid being a champion was kind of snake bit at this point. So him taking the loss was really to elevate Chris so that we can create another top star. And he's going to get catapulted into that top position very quickly. And you're going to see that coming up very soon. So given Kurt Acid, who was an established star in XCW for a year prior anyway, I didn't think it was really going to hurt him too much. He was already champion, and he just got presented with this shiny new belt. You give Chris kind of the edge of, oh shit, the Power Champion just beat the XCW champion. Like, this is a major player. Chris was supposed to drop the title to Corruption. Corruption goes off and does his own thing with the Power title. Chris would then look forward to being in the top spot with VK2 and MPG. Of course, in this day and age, it's not like it is today where we're set schedule, everything's got to flow, everything's got to be in its place. Back then, it's whatever sticks is what we do. And when you have a situation where your number one contender and your world champion are not on your show, you got to think to what's next. If we can't count on DTC to be in this position, then we look to the future of Chris Jones.
And that brings me to my next question. Why wasn't the Power title on the line in the main event? If you knew Jones was winning, why not, and you were trying to elevate him, why not have him defend his title successfully against the world champion?
I just think the biggest thing that we're thinking then is if we put the Power title on the line against the XCW champion, we don't want it to look like, our big thing of starting XCW was myself and Benji left Justin Parsley's company, BYWE, to give everyone an opportunity. And when you're in a situation where you already have the guy that helped me start the company in a position as world champion, and then you're going to put him in a match with a newcomer who is a champion and potentially make it seem as if Kurt Acid's going to be able to capture that title too, is probably not a good look on us. So we pivoted away from it. We did non-title for both. We just did a champion versus champion match to elevate Chris Jones.
Why did Little Pimp interfere?
I don't know if did he actually interfere, or did he just hit him with a bottle? Did he just hit him in the head with a bottle or something?
Yeah, it was really nonsensical. He ran it, and I was like,
kid shit.
Yeah, that's what I was like. That's why I'd like my question about the after the match, the tag match. It's like it just looked like
it was kid shit.
Kid stuff.
Yeah.
And that's
pretty much what it boils down to.
Oh. I got one more question for you before we get some final thoughts and then get out of here.
Also, Lucifer was a star, by the way. I think Lucifer was just as, if not more, over than DTC. Just saying.
So that begs the question: who played Lucifer?
DTC.
Yeah, but DTC wasn't at the show.
I know.
So who played Lucifer?
DTC.
Okay. How did it feel to finally have a show that went over the hour mark and like have that long of a form of show?
I honestly don't think that we had any intention on, we didn't pay attention to the match times or, anything like that. It was just kind of the natural, flow of the show. I think the only reason that we set over the hour mark is because of the Peep Show with Blackout, and then Blackout coming back later in the car and announcing themselves as Blackout Inc. and introducing Little Pimp as their third member. I think that's really the only thing that set this over that mark.
Alrighty, well, gonna get some final thoughts here. You obviously thought Lucifer looked like a star. We all had each of these matches pretty evenly rated between me and Festus. Obviously, he had a couple 3 stars where I had 2 stars. My personal favorite match of the night was Lil Pimp versus Blade. What was your favorite match on this card?
I would actually have to say probably myself and Biohazard.
That was my pick. That was my pick for my what I thought was best match.
I just think there was more. We had more wrestling psychology than the rest of the crew.
Yeah. That was what I said. I was watching it. I was like, they're getting it. It's not just move. It's not just spot fest.
That would go on to show, seeing what everybody did in later years with their lives and their wrestling careers. The overall average of this show would have been a 2.5, 3. What stars would you give this show overall?
This was definitely the best of the 3 trampoline shows, in my opinion, even though the Rain show has a special place to me. I still think this is probably the best presentation of the 3. It really, other than the fact that we had to put a 350-pound hazard on a trampoline, this one stands out. This is an easy 3.5.
Alrighty, well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it square from the boss man himself, 3.5 stars. Before we get one of those weird, awkward camera cuts that happened a lot back then, I think it's time we get out of here from XCW Inception, and next time you see us, we'll be taking a trip over the edge.
Let's go back in time a little bit, just like in my Peep Show. Cut the camera.